Hi, and welcome to Aspire. In today's video, we'll be talking about estimating, specifically an overview of contracts. In this video, you will learn how to create a contract opportunity, understand the different types of contract invoice types, and last, discover the definitions of fields within a contract opportunity. Let's jump into the system with Tyler to get started.
So today I mentioned we're going to be talking about contract estimating. We start in the properties module for that. You'll hear Aspire is a property-centric system. So anytime we create a new contract or a new work order, which we call opportunities, so opportunities for work, those are going to be started at the property level. You'll have contacts. Contacts are going to be employees, customers, vendors, subcontractors. Those are all going to be housed in your contacts module. And you'll see that customers can be tied to a property. So we don't create an estimate underneath a contact. Why? Because people move and properties don't. So properties can change names or change ownerships, but generally they stay the same. Their information stays the same. So the pipeline that you've built up of work will stay with that property and people can come and go. Your primary contacts may change, but the property remains the same. Opportunities module, we'll touch base a little bit on that, and you'll see in Aspire opportunities, we've got contracts, which are your renewable 12-month renewable work that's done on a contract, your recurring maintenance type work, whether it's mowing, pruning, bed maintenance, stuff like that, mulching. Depending on where you're at within the country, everybody has a little bit different model, but just your recurring maintenance contracts are going to be your contract opportunities. Then you have work orders. Those are going to be your one-time jobs. Your one and done. It could be as simple as going out to a property once to, hand water some newly installed plants, or maybe a storm came through and there's some broken limbs and sticks to pick up, and you do a work order for storm cleanup. You go out there, it's just a one-time thing, come back, code it complete, and be done. Work orders can also be giant, design, build, install work, where maybe it takes you several weeks, months, or even multiple years. So those are the two types. You can have work orders, small or large. We'll talk about those next week. And then contracts. Today we're talking about contracts. So, and then once a contract is won, that generates work tickets, and work tickets are what gets scheduled to go out and perform the work. And that's all in the scheduling module. So throughout the cohort process here, you'll have multiple sessions to break out some of these further. But today we're talking about contract estimating. I'm going to go to my properties module. And you will have a list of your properties. Notice this is our test system, so it may look a little different. We have numerous implementation managers involved in this. And so we all have our own test systems, and we're constantly trying different things. So you notice I only have a few properties myself, but you'll have each module, you'll become familiar with these 4 boxes here at the top. So notice if I click in opportunities, contacts, properties, work tickets, etc., they all have these 4 boxes. And so these are going to be the way your information or data is displayed for you. So you can filter by various things. Display is simply the columns that are displayed. So in this instance, property name, company name, primary contact, etc. And then we have our sort function, and finally group. So filter, display, sort, and group. You'll become very familiar with that. They're in each one of the modules, and even in our administration section that we'll touch on here later in the call. And then once you get information displayed a certain way, you can click up here and save this view as whatever you want. So I've saved it as my properties. So it's filtering to show just just my properties in an active status. And so you can customize all kinds of different displays. Today, I'm going to start by showing you kind of a detailed maintenance contract that's set up, hopefully to get you excited about Aspire if you're not already, and what some of the capabilities of Aspire are as far as a larger maintenance agreement with numerous services. And then I'm going to take a step back and start from scratch and show you how to basically start from scratch. So a lot of you guys are there at that level. So if I click into the property here, you notice I have the property name, UPX North Liberty, and the address displayed at the top. You can see I'm the account owner. I have a primary contact, just in time. Hopefully everybody likes that. This is a distribution center. And you'll have a company associated. In this case, it's UPX. This information here is all filled out through your contacts, and then companies. So you might have like a CBRE that is the company, and they have numerous properties that they're in charge of. As an example, if you scroll down a little bit, you can see our opportunities. So in this case, we have numerous opportunities listed here, and the opportunity types. You can see these are all contracts. Normally, if you have multiple contracts, it's going to be, different years that you have that. So you just have one contract per year. And then you would create a new opportunity by clicking this blue plus sign. So if you're going to go out and create a new work order, you create a new opportunity by clicking this blue plus sign. And if you're starting from scratch and creating a new contract, again, click the new opportunity. If I scroll down, you can see we have our contacts. So we've got a couple people tied to this property. You can have numerous people tied to the same property. You're likely going to have one primary contact. Just in time is this. He's my guy who's on site. He's who I meet with, discuss scope of work with, renewal, that kind of thing. He calls me when there's a storm that blows through and I need to go out there and do something. Distributor, she's my billing contact. She gets invoices emailed to her. You can only have one billing contact. So if you wanted to add an additional contact to this property, you'd click the new drop down. And then once you have contacts listed here, if you click these three dots, you'll notice the 3-dot menu in numerous spots throughout our system. So most commonly, it's going to be up here in the top right corner. We like to call it our meatball menu, 3-dot menu, whatever you want to call it. But you'll notice it's here. You can edit the contact, and this is how you can select who is the billing contact and whether or not they get notifications or the invoice emailed. So notice you can't just click in and select here. It's grayed out. You have to actually go into edit contact and select it from there. So that's just a brief overview of the property screen here. I'm going to click into this detailed maintenance agreement again to show you what a detailed contract can look like. And then we'll go in and create a simple one. So notice here is a pretty detailed contract. We've got multiple headers here. We call these group headers. So we've got regular maintenance, seasonal services, chemical applications, irrigation. Those are just headers. We can click and drag these, minimize them. They're just a way to organize the services within the contract and how it's displayed on the proposal when we present it to the customer. Underneath each header, notice we have these blue, what look like hyperlinks, and that's because these are services. So you're going to add to a maintenance contract, you're going to have to create services that can then be added to the contract. And then services are what we add our items to. And so I like to think of services, if services are a recipe and then items are our ingredients, we can't actually make anything. We can't make the recipe. We can't actually go out there and mow. perform the work without ingredients, or in this case, items. So our items are going to be labor, material, rental equipment, subcontractors, and other items. Other items being, debris removal fees, permit fees, things like that. And then you can either have just labor, or you can have labor and some material. For instance, if it was a larger property, the shrubs were huge, I wanted to add a debris removal fee, I could do that. But I just want to show you an example of a more detailed contract. And then I'm going to take a step back here, go back to my opportunity. Notice I have a shortcut here back to my property that shows me all of my opportunities. And we're going to start from scratch by clicking this new opportunity. Again, when I talked about opportunities, those, you notice a little trophy over here. Opportunities are work to be performed, or that we hope to be performed. So contracts and work orders, as I mentioned, your renewable recurring services are going to be done on a contract. And then your one-time jobs are going to be work orders. These folders below you're likely not going to have anything in those. These are going to be your divisions. So divisions are going to be your profit centers, your revenue and expenses. Those are going to be buckets that you see on your profit and loss statement, your P&L reports. And so you can save templates to each division, set up and save templates. Maybe you charge a little bit more for your install work than your maintenance work. And so you want to create templates and save those accordingly. I'm going to start off from scratch. Let's pretend we don't have these folders down here, and start off from scratch. And I'll show you how to save a template so that we do have, notice if I click into my maintenance, I've got multiple maintenance templates that I can select from. But let me show you, just starting off, we're going to click new contract. And notice we have a few fields here that have a red asterisk by them. Those are required. And so for today's purpose, I'm going to show you, there's several fields here. I won't go into detail about everything. I want you to get the fundamentals and teach you kind of the bare necessities for creating your own templates. So for this case, I'm going to say landscape maintenance contract, and I'm just going to name it cohort and today's date. You're likely not going to want to do this. You might say grounds maintenance, annual grounds maintenance agreement, whatever you want it to say for your company. Whatever you currently call your contracts is fine. This will show up. This is customer facing, this opportunity name field. So you want to make sure that it's something presentable. A lot of times you can put the date in here, 2022, as far as the year goes, so that when it comes time to renew, the one for next year will say 2023. However you would like to do that, but just know that this does show up on the proposal. Lead source, if you have, if you want to track it, you have a sales team that wants to track it and figure out where your customers are coming from. Probability, if somebody calls in and asks you for a bid, if you say, there's a 50-50 chance, or maybe it's 80, this is simply for sales tracking, reporting purposes. So you can choose to fill that out or leave it blank. This is a new sale. If it was a renewal, we'd choose renewal. Invoice type, this is a big one here. So notice we have fixed payment, per service, and time and material as an option. So typically, your annual maintenance agreements are either fixed payment or per service. Maybe you do a lot of time and material work. You want to make sure when you're setting up this for whatever property it is, that you're choosing the right invoice type. Now, it is possible to have a per service service within the fixed payment contract. For instance, and I'll show you how to do this, but say we have our mowing and our pruning and our bed maintenance all set up under fixed payment, but mulch is kind of a once a year type service, and we want to bill that out at the time of service. We can have what we call a blended contract, a blended invoice contract. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it at fixed payment, and then I'll show you how to add mulch as a per service service within the contract. If we were using a template, it would say what template we were using here. Due date, that's just when you need to have it back to your customer. So if they say, bids are due back by a certain date, you put that in here, and you can create dials and reports to display that information if, from day to day, if you as a reminder back on your home screen. Sales rep, if you have more than one sales rep, or if you have somebody that's building out the estimate that's not your sales rep, it's going to default to whoever's creating it. In this case, my name's in there. Division, again, this is your profit center. So you're going to really want to figure out where you want the revenue and the cost associated with generating that revenue. What bucket you're going to want that to go in. So notice we have our test system has numerous divisions. You may have a lot fewer than this. Construction, enhancement, maybe you only have a maintenance division and an enhancement division, and then irrigation or something. But this is going to be a maintenance contract, so I'm going to select our maintenance division. Ops manager, if you know somebody, whoever's scheduling the work, you can select that. The status, notice we're in a new status, and I will, as we go throughout creating this estimate, I'll show you how this changes and works, moves along with us. Renewal date. So a couple things to point out: start and end date for contracts. It's going to be a maximum of 12 months. So in this case, I'm going to go, January 1st through December 31st. And that way, and I'll go further into detail, but generally I can, if I need to go out and do work, I can do work anytime within the start and end date. If you, even though, it's April or, obviously we're into May now, but if it's April and you put a date of April 1st, but you have, like I'm in Kansas City, so if we had a mild winter and I wanted to go out there in March and get started on some services, if I had my start date 4/1, I could not. It would not let me schedule the work ticket. So it's best practice to have this set up for 12 months. And then if your specific contracts are different, you can put that in your descriptions somewhere. Anticipated close date. If I knew when the client was going to sign off on this, I could put that in there. It's not required. Start and end date are generally your important fields there. If you wanted to set a renewal date to be reminded to renew this, or maybe review how it's performing, say in October or something, we need to look at this and then present it to the client with any increases in price or change in scope. You'd put the renewal date in there to remind you. Again, if there's a budget you're working with, you can enter that in. If for whatever reason they give you a number. And then this tag field, people use tags for all kinds of different things. You could use a tag, 1 of 3, 2 of 3. If it's a 3-year contract, you could create tags to tell you which year out of the 3 it is. You can create tags to, for instance, if they have irrigation, if they don't have irrigation, it's things like that. So you can get real creative with tags. They're very customizable. Proposal description 1, proposal description 2, opportunity invoice notes, estimator notes. These are fields that you can enter information in. Proposal description 1 is going to be your scope of work. So I'll type in there scope of work just so you can see where that shows up on the proposal. You will obviously not enter in scope of work. You would actually enter in whatever description for scope of work you would want for your company. And same thing here, terms and conditions. You can, if you have an existing terms and conditions that you use on your contracts, you could copy and paste those into here. And then when you save it as a template, every time you wanted to start a new opportunity and you could select this template, these would be pre-populated. You don't have to worry about putting those in there every time. Opportunity invoice notes. These are notes specific that you want to show up on the invoice for this property. So since this is we're going to save this as a template, I'm not going to put anything in there. But if they're, likely specific to certain properties, if there was information, you could put it there. Estimator notes, these are going to be internal notes. So they do not show up. So for instance, you meet with a customer and they really hate a certain color of flower, or they really love a certain color of flower, in their annual flower beds, or maybe they hate palms, don't want to see palms, or whatever it is. You can make notes in here to, as a reminder to help your estimator out or help yourself out later. So just internal notes to make. Some people use them, some people don't. You'll get the feel for whether or not you'll want to use them or not.
Now that we've taken a high-level overview of contracts, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.